Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? I'm here with another Q&A video. I believe this is Q&A number 5. I have a whole list of questions and comments that I'd like to respond to. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you're here. My name is Jana. I am 68 years old. I am married to my wife, Donna, and we live in Sarasota, Florida, and I am estranged from my entire family. So let's get started with the questions, and I have my laptop sitting right next to me, and I'm going to be reading the questions one by one and responding. And so here's the first one. I'm not all the way through your video yet, so apologies if this is something you mentioned, but have you ever tried a professional family mediation service? If not, it might be worth a shot. Not even necessarily for reconnecting, but just to get an understanding of what happened. I'm one of those people who can't let things go, and not knowing would drive me insane. However, I don't know your whole story, and if it's best to stay estranged to protect your peace, then that's totally fair. Okay, so that's a great question, and I would have loved nothing more than to do a family mediation with actually all of my family members. The main issue with that is I've been the only one seemingly willing to communicate and to want to fix things. So, something like mediation takes a willingness on both sides or all sides, and that just hasn't been the case in my family. Not knowing did actually drive me insane. I went several years just questioning why, all the time. Why? And it was finally just earlier this year, actually, when I stopped asking myself why, that I began to feel peace. All I have to go is my own reflection, my awareness of my part in things, their part in things, what happened, the entire family dynamic. And once I started really reflecting seriously, all the pieces came together in my mind. Now, I'm sure my family has a different version, which is fine. This is just my version and my story. And so, yes, to protect my peace, it's better for me to stay estranged at this point, but I'm always open to counseling, mediation, anything like that, if there was ever a willingness from anybody else. So I hope that answers that question. On to the next question, and I have my pink insulated stainless steel coffee mug. Have some coffee this morning. I'm actually filming this. This is Monday morning, but I won't be posting this video until Thursday. There's a rhyme to my reason, a reason to my rhyme, if that makes sense, of when I am trying to post different videos. It's a whole analytics, YouTube analytics thing. I wanted to take a drink of coffee before reading this question because this is actually several questions in one, and it's more in depth. And ever since I got this question like a week ago, I've really been thinking on this. So here goes. Maybe for another Q&A, what specific behaviors of yours did they say hurt them? What delusions did they say you had? What did they want you to do differently? Did you change anything about yourself? From the other perspective, can you share specific examples beyond respect that were difficult for you? What unreasonable requests have they made? Did they change at all? So yeah, wow, that's a lot of questions, and let me try to take one at a time, starting with what specific behaviors of yours did they say hurt them? Okay, so this was really hard for me because the reality is they never specifically and directly told me any behaviors of mine that hurt them. There were a few indirect things, like I believe my middle daughter had a jealousy thing going because she did say to me at one time, I don't remember her exact words, but she did mention something to me about she felt that my youngest daughter was my favorite. And that's as far as it went. And I remember trying to talk about it at the time, but she wouldn't have anything to do with it. So that's just me reflecting like that might be part of the issue on her side. That same daughter is the same one who told me directly that I wasn't meeting her expectations, but would not tell me what those were. So there was nothing I could do to rectify that or even discuss it. One thing, while we went with my middle daughter, we went a period of several months where we were, I'd like to say, partially estranged. She was very angry with me, and we had gotten together several times in person and on the phone to try to talk it out, which never worked. But there were two different times during that she got really angry with me because I didn't come visit her when she had a sudden hospital stay. Now, I did not know she was in the hospital, and I only found out when she was being discharged and on her way home. I found out through social media. But she was just angry with me, and she didn't want to hear that. And, I can totally understand her hurt, thinking I didn't care because I didn't show up. But it wasn't, I don't believe that was the cause of our estrangement. That happened while we were well on our way to being fully estranged. So, that would be like one thing. She did tell me, after I asked her many, many times what I was not doing, how I was not meeting her expectations, she did say that I wasn't just dropping in. I talked about that in another video, but I don't mind repeating things because I know all of you haven't seen all of my videos. But she had mentioned to me that I wasn't just dropping in to visit her. And I tried to explain that's very out of my comfort zone. I'm not like a drop-in kind of person, not even with family. But I was willing to go out of my comfort zone to do that because at the time I was willing to do anything, bend over backwards to try to rectify things. So I did drop in one afternoon. I thought she would be home. I knew when she got off work, and she happened not to be home because she took my granddaughter, her daughter, to a birthday party, I believe. I didn't know they were going to a birthday party, so she wasn't home, which is no big deal to me. I just figured I would try again another time. I mean, that's the risk you take when you drop in on somebody, right? But she got even angrier at me when I did that, saying I knew that she would be there. So, but again, I don't believe that's the cause of the estrangement. That's the only thing I can think of, behavior-wise, that she said that hurt her, that I wasn't just popping in. With my oldest daughter, she was triggered when I didn't respond to her daughter's birthday in the way she wanted. And I'll just stop right here because I didn't write this down as one of my questions, but somebody made a comment in my comments asking me if I would explain more what I mean by triggered, because I tend to say that a lot. And what I mean in this case, when I say my oldest daughter got triggered, is she went from her usual polite, friendly, respectful self to all of a sudden being angry, disrespectful, not her typical self. So just like going from, a comfortable feeling to an uncomfortable feeling, from her perspective. Now, when I say I get triggered, that again is going from a place of feeling peace and okay with the situation to if something triggers me, all of a sudden I feel this sharp jab of pain again, tears a lot of times, just going from a good mental place to a bad mental place. So I hope that explains what I mean by trigger. Also with my oldest daughter, apparently there was issue that I didn't give her oldest son, my grandson, the Christmas gift she expected. Now, this was not a behavior of mine that she told me. I found out many years later through my youngest daughter that this was an issue. I had no idea. And then with my youngest daughter, I knew specific things that hurt her was that I didn't visit her new home. That was one, and I talked about that in an earlier video. And yes, that's my bad. I had my reasons, but it's still my bad. And I did apologize to her, and I apologized more than once. And I just want to say that this came again in the same situation. We were already mostly estranged. So that non-visit was not the reason for our estrangement. So it was a behavior of mine. Like, it seemed just like after I was estranged from my girls, anything I was doing or not doing was just like, I felt like added to this list they had of things they didn't approve of about me. And then again, I wrote a poem on my Facebook page last Christmas. This was before I found peace and everything, and I had gotten triggered by some other social media post, and I was feeling really down. And at the time, I still wasn't talking. By that I mean, for you new people, like, I've never had a voice. I've never been able to speak my feelings in my family from a child onward. Every time I tried to express feelings, I was disrespected, physically slapped across the mouth, being labeled sensitive, too emotional, uncaring. I was gaslit a lot. Basically told I was crazy for feeling the way I was. So I've never had a voice up until I started this YouTube channel. But anyway, that was one way last Christmas I put my feelings into words, and I posted it on my Facebook page. So that was something that hurt my youngest daughter. I believe hurt her. She never directly came out and said it hurt her. She chose to call me names for doing it instead of expressing her feelings. But then again, with that situation, we were already mostly estranged. So that was not the reason for the estrangement. It's just kind of like, haha, see, you're a bad person, you're a bad mother, and now you expressed your feelings on social media and other people saw it. So see, we told everybody you were bad. That's how I felt from my perspective. Okay, so let's move on. What delusions did they say you had? They didn't. That's just the thing. My family doesn't talk. They don't communicate. I was just called delusional. You know, that was one of many names I've been called. You're delusional. So, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, why they think I'm delusional. So, I don't think I'm delusional, but whatever. What did they want you to do differently? And again, I don't know because they never communicated. They never told me. It was all just anger, name calling, accusations, being called a liar indirectly, like you knew whatever when I really didn't. So I don't know what they wanted me to do different. You know, I've talked about it in past videos. I think they just wanted me to be a different kind of person. So there's that. Did you change anything about yourself? I tried. With my middle daughter, like I said, we went a period of months where we tried to talk, and I was willing to do anything, and I asked over and over. I went out of my comfort zone just to pop in on her like she wanted, or she seemed to want. One thing I changed about myself is I stopped being a doormat. You know, I'm just going to be myself now. From the other perspective, can you share specific examples beyond respect that were difficult for you? This whole thing has been difficult. Just learning to talk has been the most difficult thing. It's been since the year 2017, I believe, that I was estranged from my middle daughter, the first daughter estrangement. That was difficult. It was several years later that I estranged from the oldest daughter, and then just this past year from the youngest daughter. So the whole thing is just letting go of the fantasy of what should have and could have been. You know, having the visions in my head of getting together and having fun times and visiting and being in my grandchildren's life. Just letting go of that has been extremely difficult. It's been difficult to accept things as they are now. It's been difficult learning, like I said, learning how to talk, starting this YouTube channel, being here, not being afraid. This is way out of my comfort zone, talking to a camera, talking to a lot of people. Telling my truth, being willing to accept the rude comments that I get. I don't want to say accept them. I don't accept them. I just delete them. But being able to handle that without being triggered, which I can. All those things have been really difficult. You know, not caring about anybody's approval. My audience's approval, my family's approval, not caring about anybody's approval. I only have to answer to myself. What unreasonable requests have they made? And I think I talked about that really in depth in this last video that I put out, that just went out yesterday, Sunday, which would be, you know, this past Sunday for you guys, about boundaries. So if you're interested in hearing more of what I have to say about the what I felt were unreasonable requests, I talk about that in detail in that video. It would be too long just to add now. And the last thing is, did they change at all? And I have no idea. I have no idea. Not that I know of. I wouldn't know. I don't know them. I mean, it's been many years with my oldest two girls, So I really don't know if they are different type people now. I hope they only have to answer to themselves as long as they're happy. If they're happy, then that's what really matters to me. You know, I'm very sad that I'm not part of their lives. I would have loved to have been, but it is what it is. On to the next question. I imagine this is very painful during the holidays. Were you estranged from your daughters before you married your wife, or was it after? I know many are single when they become estranged from their kids, and the holidays are intensely painful. Holidays are very painful because, you know, all the memories come flooding back, you know, and the holidays are traditionally thought of as a time to gather with your family and have fun. And I have a lot of fun past Christmas memories with my family, and I hold on to those. And sometimes it's triggering. As you guys are aware, if you saw the Thanksgiving letter I wrote to my daughters, so you know, I teared up in that, and I'll talk about that here again soon. But to answer your question, I was not estranged from my daughters before I met my wife. When I met her, I was partially estranged from my middle daughter and not estranged from the other two. And when I say partially estranged, like I just talked about a bit ago, it was during that time of several months while we were still talking back and forth. We were mostly estranged, but not fully. And she did meet that daughter, and that meeting went really well as far as that daughter was super friendly to her. She shunned me, but she was friendly to my wife. But no, we were, I was not estranged from the other two. So my wife did get to know them for a few years. And so I hope that answered that question. And I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay, this one. Good coffee. This is Tim Hortons. Are you guys coffee drinkers? Let me know. Tim Hortons is the best. We don't have one here in my area of Florida. They are building a Tim Hortons, bringing one in. Maybe it's going to be like 15-20 minutes from us, but anyway, from now, my son-in-law mails Tim Hortons coffee to us, which is just awesome. And then when we visit up there, we always buy some to bring back home. Okay, on to the question. Just Jana, you did fine on your unscripted chat, and it will get easier, I'm sure, as you get more comfortable. I just turned 59 in November, and you give me hope that I will still be looking good at 68. Do you have a skincare routine? Any specific products? Do you exercise beyond walking? I know you walk and eat healthy. Keep up your talking unscripted. You did a good job. Well, so thank you. That's another area where I'm trying to go out of my comfort zone. I've done a couple of Saturday unscripted just chit chats, you know, not just about estrangement, but about my life and stuff. And I'm doing that to try to get more comfortable with the camera. You know, I just kind of go by, you know, if I'm in the mood. There are some times when I really feel like talking, and there are some times where, a lot of times, that I don't feel like talking at all. Do you guys ever feel that way? I know I get like that. I guess you could call it moody or something. So anyway, about the skincare routine. My skincare routine is that, ready? I have no skincare routine. I am not the typical woman who does this morning facial ritual. I've never been into that. I've never been interested in that. My skincare routine is I shower every single evening, early evening. wash my face, wash all the parts, wash my hair daily, shave my legs daily. I do use body lotion, but not on my face. I don't use anything on my face. I don't wear makeup, except for I do wear a little bit of eyeliner under my eyes. I put that on daily. That's basically it. I don't do anything with my hair. I go to a hair salon a couple times a year and get it trimmed because it grows rather fast. My wife dyes my hair and I need it dyed again. So no, I don't have any products. I do prefer Dove bar soap that I use in the shower. However, with my product testing, I get a lot of free bar soaps, so I actually don't use Dove a whole lot like I'd like, because I have all these free soaps, use them and then review them. Same goes with shampoo and conditioner. And body wash. I get all that stuff free. I rarely have to buy it. So I'm always using different things, and luckily I don't have many allergies and don't break out to most of that stuff. I do try to eat healthy. I am pre-diabetic. Diabetes does run in my family. I don't want to go full diabetic. So I'm kind of on a self-mission to reverse my pre-diabetes, which is totally possible. So I am eating a lot healthier, although the past few weeks I haven't really been such a good girl, with Thanksgiving, and I made some homemade cookies the other day, and I try to stay away from the sweet so much, but I make sure I eat protein in every meal if possible. Watch my portions. I do most all the cooking here, and most all of our foods are homemade. We buy very little pre-packaged. Occasionally we will have a frozen pizza. We love the frozen pizzas from Sam's Club, so we'll have that once in a while. We don't eat out often, maybe once a month if that. Yes, we walk. I walk every other morning, 2 miles. That's the only exercise I'm doing now. I have kind of a history with exercise and working out. I don't know if you guys are interested in hearing that, but back I think in 2011-ish, I got to be quite overweight. I was up to a size 24, and I made a New Year's resolution that year to lose the weight. And I did. I joined a gym, and in a period of about 7 or 8 months, I lost over 80 pounds, and I went from a size 24 to a 12. And I did that by going to the gym, and I was doing Zumba, spin class, step class, and I was really into that. And I really love spin, so I challenged myself. I went out and bought a bicycle because I remember loving my bike when I was a kid. So I bought a bike and joined a bike club and started doing long distance charity rides. I did a couple charity rides for MS, which is multiple sclerosis, where I cycled over 100 miles, raised money for the charity. So I did that for quite a while. Before I got into the cycling, I actually thought I would run, and I practiced running, and I was living in Ohio, and I remember when I first started being overweight, I couldn't even I couldn't even run a block, but I persisted until I could do it. And then I came to Florida to visit my daughters, and I did my first 5K with my oldest daughter, and that was really fun. But then I ended up having to have foot surgery, which is why I switched to the cycling, because my foot just can't handle the running anymore. But so I've always loved biking. I was really big into it until I moved to Florida, but it's a whole different thing here. It's just too hot to cycle, and the cycling clubs all seem to be really intense, like early morning, fast riders, whereas in Ohio is more like a friendly group. We would cycle like in the early evening into the evening, maybe 20-25 miles with a group, and it was a more leisurely pace, and then we would like cycle to a restaurant and have a group dinner and stuff. It was just more of fun friendship stuff, and I really got my workout. I really miss that. But for now, to try to reverse my pre-diabetes, I'm doing the walking. I had after I moved to Florida, I did gain some of my weight back and went up to like a 20 or 22 again, and now I'm at an 18. So I'm just happy. I'd like to be a 16. Anyway, this is probably more information than you want. So let's just move on to the next question. Okay, here we go. Hi, Jana. I love this style of video. It's nice to have a chit chat. It's like sitting down with you for a cup of coffee and getting to know you, which is, yes, that's what I want to do. I want to get to know you guys. I hope that you guys want to get to know me, because, I am more than just my estrangement. And how cool is that bald eagle? And yes, she was just back this morning, and I got a little video of her flying, which actually posting this afternoon in a little YouTube short, which will already be posted by the time you guys are watching this. I'm still want some more name suggestions for her so we can take a vote and name her. So amazing you get to see that from your office window. I have a couple questions for your Q&A video. I'm not sure if you've covered it before, but how did you and your wife meet, and how long have you known each other, and does your daughter's father have a relationship with the girls? So I moved down to Florida from Ohio in the fall of 2015. I met my wife in the fall of 2016, and we got married in the fall of 2017. So we just celebrated our 8-year anniversary, and I've known her for 9 years. And yes, as far as I know, my girl's dad does have a relationship with them. As far as I know, I'm not really privy into any of their lives now, but I believe so. And as far as I last knew, he was still living in Ohio. Okay, so I hope that answered that. Somebody else asked that same question, how we met. And they also asked, and when and why are you moving? And yes, we do plan on moving. And as to when, we don't know. We're waiting for our home to sell. And it hasn't sold. The market here in Florida is not good. We're not in a huge rush, but in the meantime, I kind of feel like we're living kind of in limbo a little bit. So I guess it'll happen when it happens. And the reasons why is that we are in a double wide mobile home. It's beautiful. If you haven't seen, I did a mobile home tour. When I'm editing, I'll put a link to that video up here. That was a really popular video. And so we own this home, but we pay a really high lot rent. So it's kind of like we're owning and renting at the same time. So that's one reason. As far as the estrangement, we live less than an hour from my 3 estranged daughters, and so there won't be any reconciliation. So there's no reason for us to stay here. As far as family, and my wife's son and his family live in New York, so where we're interested in moving will put us a lot closer to them. So that's another reason as well. And another reason are the hurricanes. This last hurricane, last October, Hurricane Milton, my city took a direct hit. So that's uncomfortable. And so that's another reason. On to the next question. Jana, were you raised in a religious home? Does that play a role in your family not accepting? I was raised as a Methodist. I don't have a lot of memory. I remember many years not attending church at all, and then many years attending church, at least up until I was age 13 when my parents divorced. That same year, when I was 13, I did have a confirmation. I am not big in religion. I'm more accepting of anybody's views. I'm more very spiritual in nature. I don't believe you have to be in church to believe anything. I do pray. But so as you know, I did go to Sunday school as a child. But it wasn't a big thing. So I don't believe that plays any part, other than I know many Methodists are conservative, and many conservatives are against the gay lifestyle. Now, let me say, not all, before you come at me. And no, I'm not afraid to talk about religion and politics on my channel. I feel that's that's me, and part of who I am and being authentic. And I believe, any respectful human should be able to talk about it, agree to disagree, and do it nicely and all that. So in my family, the issue is more of a negative family narrative about me, starting from the way my mom treated me as a child. And again, if you're new here, I do have another video out about what happened between me and my mother, and I will post that here. So yeah, it was more like my whole family has aligned with that narrative. Many family members who don't even know me who are going along with it. Emotional distance. There's a lot of lack of empathy in my family. Yeah. Okay, moving on. This person made a comment under my Thanksgiving letter to my 3 estranged daughters. Now, I don't know if you've seen that. That came out on Thanksgiving Day, if you'd like to see that. It was a very emotional video, and in that video, I did cry. And this person said, I had thought you were coming to terms with the painful estrangement. Respectfully, it seems like you just opened the healing wound. Do you think your video message is sending you backward into unresolved pain? So that's a very legitimate question, and I've received a couple of similar comments, and I can totally get how it comes off as, here I'm being very emotional, I'm tearing up, it's a very intense letter directed directly to my daughters, and I am crying, and yeah, it appears like I'm in pain, and I haven't found the peace that I keep talking about. But let me tell you, finding peace in this estrangement does not mean that I don't have any emotions. it is still painful. This is something I'm never going to get over. They are my girls. I love them. I always will. I accept them how they are. Their choice not to have me in their life is painful, but it is their choice, and they have a right to their choice. It's hard for me to explain. I wrote that letter and recorded that letter the day before Thanksgiving, and I posted it Thanksgiving morning. In that letter, I actually triggered myself. So, is that a bad thing to trigger myself? I'm not sure. I was thinking about them a lot that day, and I just sat down and wrote the letter. I didn't think about it. My feelings just came out. The thing is, I cried when I wrote it. I cried when I read it on YouTube. And I cried again when I edited that video. And then I played it for my wife before I posted it on YouTube. And I cried again. And that was the end of it. So what I'm kind of saying is, yes, I have found peace because I'm not destroyed. I did not go crawl in bed under the covers and cry and wallow and feel sorry for myself. I had my cry. I was over it. I felt good. Went on with my life. So finding peace means that this pain is not destroying me. I'm not going to bed with tears in my eyes. I'm not waking up with tears in my eyes. I'm not stuck on it. I don't live in this every day. I have quite a busy life and a good life outside of the estrangement. I know that you guys are just seeing all my estrangement videos. And some of you take that as, oh, this poor woman, she's estranged from her entire family, and I feel so bad for her. But I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me because I don't feel sorry for myself. I think people think that if you cry that you're broken, and if you talk about it, you're stuck in it. But me talking is a direct result of me healing. It's not the opposite. When I was not healed, I could not talk about it. Crying is a natural emotion. It's a real loss. Just because I found peace doesn't mean that I still don't grieve over it, because you can grieve and be healthy at the same time. So I hope that all made sense. And let's move on to the next question. Okay, this might be a weird question. It probably is. I'd love to do a scientific study on estrangement and infant care. Did you bottle or breastfeed? Did they go to daycare? Did they cry it out or not? Mother-infant bonding is usually a lifelong deal. Okay, so no respectful question is bad or weird, and I don't mind answering. I bottle fed my oldest daughter, and I breastfed the other two daughters. No, they didn't go to daycare. I was mostly a stay-at-home mom. I did have to go out to work a few different times whenever my ex-husband would lose his job and we needed to make ends meet. And when I did, it was mostly a night shift when my husband was home. So no, they never went to daycare. Did they cry it out or not? For the most part, no. I do believe in cry it out for older infants. I remember my middle daughter specifically. I think she was around 10 months old, and I had a hard time getting her to go to sleep, and I decided to try the cry it out method. And I remember that first night she cried for an hour straight. It was, oh my gosh, it was so heartbreaking. And then the second night, I think it was 40 minutes, she cried before she fell asleep, and the third night 20 minutes, and then after that I never had a problem. So it worked in 3 nights, but it was heart-wrenching. I don't remember ever having to do that with my other girls. I do remember my oldest daughter, when we couldn't get her to sleep, my husband at the time and I would take her in the car and just drive around until she fell asleep. But for the most part, no, my girls were good girls. I never had anything like that. Mother-infant bonding, I personally don't believe has anything to do with whether you breastfeed or you bottle feed. I think it's a personal decision. You can bond just as much with a baby if you bottle feed as if you breastfeed. Same goes with an adopted baby or child. You can bond. But I do think that's would be an interesting scientific study. This next question, I'm taking 2 comments. I'm going to read you both comments because they're very similar, and it's a more complex one. So the first person said, would it hurt or bother you if you sent each family member a card with a small note saying, I love you, for their birthday or Christmas or just any day, one time a year, without a conversation from them? And then the second comment said, Jana, I've watched several of your videos with interest. Unsolicited advice to follow. Show up at their door one by one and ask them if you can take them out for coffee, tea, or a glass of wine. Tell them you want to start from that day, setting aside sexual preferences and politics. I'm gathering those are the 2 hot buttons behind all this. You just want to love them and their children, and then listen, really listen, and request you come to their house for Christmas breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or New Year's Day. Life is too short, and they've got to be suffering over this as well. Bend. It's okay. I literally cannot imagine my life without my children and grandchildren in it. I'd crawl on my hands and knees to fix this. I mean, no offense. Pollyanna here wants a happy ending for you. Okay, let me take a deep breath. Let me take a drink of coffee before I address these comments. So, this one might be hard for me to explain, but for me, if an estranged parent reaches out to their child, to their adult child, in any different matter, sending a note, a card, a text, a phone call, showing up at the door, you're going to risk rejection. Now, I know this happens a lot. I know because I read it from distraught parents in these Facebook estranged parent support groups I'm in. And you risk rejection, and then you get hurt all over again. And as of now, I have not read one instance where any of that has worked, and it's only brought more pain. So it's a risk. Now, it sounds like the second person is saying, you know, she'd crawl on her hands and knees to do whatever she could. But let me say, this wouldn't hurt me, but it would bother me a whole lot, because doing so would go against my self-respect. It would go against my boundaries. It would feel very humiliating to me. I'd feel exposed. I would feel awkward, emotionally vulnerable. You know, I felt that during the period of time my middle daughter and I were trying to work things out. I felt like I was begging. And I can still remember how I felt about myself inside that whole time. I felt like I was begging, and that's a very humiliating feeling. It makes you feel worthless. Makes you feel shameful. It's embarrassing. And when you have all that, I don't believe you can find peace. If your children truly want to reconnect with you, they're going to be respectful. They're going to let you know. They're going to open that lines of communication. I don't believe showing things like texting and stuff, that doesn't solve the problem. They obviously have hurts and issues with you that go way beyond, and until you resolve that, and if you don't, if the issue, like in my case, if some of it has to do with politics and lifestyle, that needs to be talked about. It can't be the elephant in the room, because then it's always there. And I don't believe if you don't talk about anything would ever get resolved. I think that's why I'm in this situation now. None of us, including me, have ever talked about it, communicated, been respectful. It would be very out of my comfort zone just to show up at my daughter's doorsteps. I didn't do that before the estrangement. I don't do that with anybody. It's very out of my comfort zone, and I am just going to be me. I have heard from way too many parents who have done just that. And you know what they get? They get the police called in on them. They get restraining orders issued on them. It's heartbreaking. I don't believe it's an answer. I don't believe that it would work in my case. Certainly not make me feel good. It would disrupt the peace that I have found. And I'm not saying that it couldn't possibly work for somebody else. And now the second commenter said she couldn't imagine life without her children in it. Well, I couldn't either. And until you're actually in my shoes, you don't know how it feels, and you don't know what it takes to find that peace and acceptance. So I hope that kind of explains it. Someone else asked if the girls still communicate with their dad, and I think I might have answered that already, and yes, they do, as far as I know. Now, the next question. Jana, I watch your videos, and I can relate to a lot of things you are stating. It's sad all the way around. This is an upsetting, frustrating, and so much more. Yes, it is. My question is, what do you do now? This is your channel. My question is, your daughter's friends, mates, etc., more than likely watch or hear about your videos. This could be causing more of a division. I am not saying stop your videos. I am suggesting you also tell us about how you feel since the estrangement, your marriage, and how you spend your day. They are adult children, and they may experience the same thing. You have to live your life. This will impact your health. Keep moving forward. You got this. Okay, I found that question a little bit confusing just because I wasn't sure exactly what they're asking. Yes, I do believe that my daughters are watching my videos, and in fact, my whole extended family is watching my videos. I've heard from more than one person saying that I'm ruining any chances of reconnection by talking about this here. And, it might sound really callous, but I don't care, because I'm not here for their approval. I'm here to help others in a similar situation not to feel so alone. If there's ever a reconnection, it's going to have to be that they're going to have to accept me for who I am, and vice versa. And this is who I am. I love to help people. I love to talk about my political beliefs, my spiritual beliefs, and if they or any of my audience don't care for that, then that's on them. So I'm just gonna be myself. I'm gonna be true to myself. I'm gonna express my feelings. I know I'm wrong a lot. Sometimes I feel like I'm all over the place. If this in their mind, me talking here, it makes them think, oh, hell no, there's no way I'm going to ever reconnect with her now. Well, then they're not accepting me. And so I can't be a part of that. As far as telling you guys about how I feel and my marriage and how I spend my day, I'm trying to do a little more of that type of thing. I do have other videos on my channel, life outside of estrangement. Trying to do a little of that. I do totally go by what my audience likes, what my audience is interested in. I can tell by the analytics by how many people are watching certain videos, what you guys are interested in, and I try to go by that. I'm totally open to suggestions. I do have a lot of fun hobbies, and my wife and I do a lot of fun things, and I love to share my life. If you guys want more than that, please just let me know, and I'd be happy to do that. I am living my life, and definitely this estrangement was affecting my health. And so I did have to find peace. And I mean, heck, in June when I started my channel, I couldn't even talk. I was getting stomach pains, and that's all past now. The talking has really helped now that I have found my voice. So let's move on. I think we're almost to the end of my questions. Yes, here's the last question. How old are your daughters? Is there any chance they themselves may not be close to each other and therefore it translates over to affect you? Okay, first, my oldest daughter is 49. The next oldest is 46 and the youngest is 33. And I hope I have that right, because I don't want somebody coming back at me and, she couldn't even get her girls' ages right. So, they're not young. Definitely old enough to be respectful, communicative adults if they would choose to do so. As far as are they close, my family has never been a close family. Now, I don't know how they are now, but when I was still in their life, no, I would not say they are close. I mean, it was a family where everybody talked about everybody else's fault. Nobody talked about the serious underlying things. Nobody was like really interested in how I was raised. They didn't want to hear about anything that would be deemed any kind of issue. It was all like superficial, like, come to my home, we're going to swim in the pool and make some food. And it was all like, it was all happy and friendly and get together, but nothing serious was ever talked about. And I was never aware of any of my girls being that way either. No deep issue talk, no communication in my family. I have to assume it's the same way now, but, I can't say for sure. And I don't understand what you mean by therefore it translates over to affect you. I know my entire life I've had huge issues with getting close to anybody, and this is something I haven't talked about in any of my videos. It just came to my mind now. Like, I spent many years where any friendship or relationship I would get into, I would tend to push the person away. And, you know, my mom never showed love, never said she loved me, never hugged me, anything, and didn't know how to handle that. And communication was absent. So, yeah, it definitely affects me, and I'm sure has part to do in all this stuff. So that's the end of this video. Let me know if you need clarification on anything, what's coming next to the channel. I'm not sure. I think Sunday I'll have another estrangement video out. You might find interesting. It's going to be all about the do's and don'ts in estrangement. I read all your comments. I appreciate all your comments. If you do have a question for me or want me to read your comment, it's best to make a brand new comment, because in YouTube Studio, if you respond to somebody else's comment, I won't see it. You know, I'd have to search through all the comments. And I'd welcome all your ideas about, like I said, anything you would like me to clarify, any more questions, any ideas, anything like that. I hope you're all having a great day or evening, wherever you're at, and I will see you soon in the next video.